Welcome back. You may have heard the term deadweight loss already. But what is it? Deadweight loss is the loss of economic surplus because of some market distortion. So it's often thought about with taxes or with price controls. So let's think about deadweight loss from a tax and what causes it. So to do that, we want to set up a supply and demand diagram. Quantity, price, throw in your upward sloping supply curve, throw in a downward sloping demand curve, and let's label in our initial quantity. So without a tax, we're going to call this quantity Q sub E. Don't worry about price. We're much more focused on quantity when we're thinking about deadweight loss. All right, so what happens if the government puts a tax in place? It drives a wedge between what buyers pay and what sellers receive. Right? This is our tax. So it's driving a wedge between these two prices. So that means now buyers are paying more than they would without the tax, and sellers are receiving less than they would without the tax. So if buyers are paying more, do they want to buy as many? Nope, they're going to want to buy less. Quantity demanded decreases. If sellers are receiving less, do they want to sell as many, or are they able to sell as many? Nope. Quantity supplied decreases as well. Where this wedge is driven in between the price paid by the buyer and the price paid by the seller equates to our quantity after the tax is put in place. So look what happened. The quantity has decreased. There's less trade taking place than before. All right, so what causes a deadweight loss then? Well, if we want to think about a loss, maybe we should think about a gain and see if it helps us understand the loss. So where do the gains from trade come from? The gains from trade come from the buyer paying more to the seller than it costs the seller to produce. So that difference, right, the value to the buyer above the cost to the seller, that's the gain from trade. This difference between what the buyer is willing to pay and what the seller is willing to sell at, that's the gain from trade. That's what makes both sides better off. The seller is selling for more than they would be willing to sell for, and the buyer is buying for less than they would be willing to pay. This difference between those two curves, that's the gain from trade. So what happens when the quantity of trade is reduced? Well, that means now we don't get the gains from this trade, or 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 this trade. I bet you see the pattern now, right? All of these trades that have disappeared means that all the gains from those trades have disappeared as well. And that is our deadweight loss. And what causes deadweight loss is the reduction in trade and the loss of gains from trade. Hopefully you've got a feel now for what causes deadweight loss, and we'll see you next time.